بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. In this short series, we've been talking about a truly profound statement that was made by our eighth Imam, Ali ibn Musa Rida, alayhi alaf at-tahiyyati was-salam, with reference to his son. Essentially, there are multiple reports of this, but what happens is that they bring the newborn child, Imam al-Jawad, they bring him to his father's lap. Imam al-Rida looks into the eyes of this newborn and says the following: هذا المولود الذي لم يولد في الإسلام مثله مولود أعظم بركة على شيعتنا منه. This is the newborn who is unequal and unique, and no child has ever been born in the history of Islam that has brought about greater blessings upon our followers than this child. So we've been trying to make sense of this statement to see exactly what that means. I mean, at the very least, this statement refers to a major turning point in the history of Imam. Because why would Imam Rida alayhi salam speak in such a manner about his son had it not been something that's truly significant and important? So in the previous episode, we talked about one aspect of this, the fact that Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam is a source of intercession and blessings, and we've been directed to seek his intercession, especially when it comes to matters of financial affairs, about being in a financially sound position. So we talked about that, but it goes beyond this. The second reason why Imam al-Rida alayhi salam refers to his son in such significant and profound a manner is because you have to remember that, as I said previously, our beliefs and our creed didn't come about in a haphazard manner, right? It's not the product of a series of accidents, right? It went through a gradual progression. In the beginning, people thought of the Imams as being regular people who are rather good and moral and virtuous, and they're endowed with great morals. There's no problem there. But of course, they didn't understand the significance of the Imams. They wouldn't go beyond that because they hadn't been exposed to the reality of the Imams, to their divine knowledge and authority. That's something that happened in a very gradual manner. People had to observe the Imams in their daily lives. They had to be exposed to some of the things that the Imams did in order to reach that level of cognition and understanding that the Imams were in fact divinely inspired, right? That their knowledge was truly and utterly unique. So here you have people whose understanding of the Imams is rather sophomoric, it's very basic. They don't really understand who an Imam is until Imam al-Rida alayhi salam reaches the age of 47 and he has no child. Now, imagine if you knew somebody who had been married for a long time, say 20, 25, 30 years. Now they've reached that age where 47 and they still don't have a child. So what happens? Well, you give up. In fact, you'd probably stop praying for them because you would think that it's futile, it's useless, that maybe they were meant to be childless, that they were not given the blessing of a child, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has some other plan for them. Because 47 is not an age when you're going to have your first child. You know, you've tried everything, and whatever you've tried has failed, and so in all likelihood nothing's going to happen from this point on. In fact, this is a challenge that a lot of the Waqifa sects, meaning the people who said that Imam al-Kadhim, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam, was the last Imam, and that he didn't die, his body ascended to the heaven like Jesus, and they refused to accept the divine authority and imamah of Imam al-Rida. And they used this as a challenge. They came to the Imam and they said to him, how is it that you're 47 years old and you still don't have a child? Right? If you are the 8th Imam, and if the imamah is supposed to continue until we have 12 Imams, then surely you would have a child by now. And so Imam al-Rida alayhi salam would respond to them by saying that indeed I will have a child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give me a child who will sift the right from the wrong and separate the truth from falsehood. In other words, this confusion that you're trying to create is going to disappear once my child is born, once I have a son. And the son will come, you just have to wait. And so, in a way, this was a test for the Shia as well as those who deviated and departed from the school of the Ahlul Bayt. And it began with those devious individuals trying to sow seeds of doubt and misconception and discord, but eventually it permeated through the Shia populace and a lot of people who didn't know any better. Again, as I said, you have those whose understanding of imamat and divine authority was very, very basic, right? And so they began to question what's happening here. The Imam is 47 years old and he's in the spotlight. He's been married multiple times. He's had multiple wives and yet no child. It's probably not going to happen. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam kept telling them that I will be blessed with a child. He will come. And so at the age of 47, when many people had lost all hope except for the most devout, except for the ones whose understanding of imamah was sufficient to give them this boost and this strength so that they wouldn't fall prey to these devious and in fact these mischievous individuals who were trying to make people doubt the authority and imamat of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam. So at the age of 47, Imam al-Rida has his one and only son, his only child, Imam al-Jawad alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, with the birth of Imam al-Jawad, all those who tried to portray Imam al-Rida as someone who is not supposed to be holding the office of imamah, all those who had claimed that imamah had ended with Imam al-Rida alayhi salam or even his father Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, all those who were casting doubt, their plans and their schemes came crashing down because Imam al-Rida alayhi salam now had a son. The line of succession was to continue in spite of all of the doubts and misconceptions. Now, of course, it should be more than enough. When Imam al-Rida alayhi salam says that I will have a son, those people who have certainty in their hearts, those followers of the Ahlul Bayt whose belief in the Imam doesn't stem from a series of logical inferences, but rather they have absolute devotion and submission to the word of the Imam, there's no problem there for them. But again, we had people whose understanding was too basic and it needed that shake-up, it needed that test for them to believe in the imamah of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam in an unshakable manner, in a firm and solid manner. And so Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam did exactly that. With his birth, at that advanced stage in the life of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, Imam al-Jawad came and completely debunked all of the doubts and misconceptions. Hence the statement of Imam al-Rida that مولود لم يولد في الإسلام. No child has ever been born in the history of Islam with a greater barakah and blessing upon our followers than Imam al-Jawad alayhi salatu wassalam.